Please stop. Please. 6-year-old Lily Cole screamed, her tiny body trembling on the cold cafeteria floor. Her hands bled from scraping scattered food off the dirty tiles. A 12-year-old boy stood over her laughing. Eat it like the trash you are. Tears streamed down her face. Her pink lunch tray lay shattered against the wall. A teacher watched from 10 feet away, arms crossed, doing absolutely nothing. That's when Derek Cole walked through the door, his daughter on her knees, begging, bleeding, broken. Every muscle in his body screamed for violence. But what he did next brought 200 Hell's Angels to that school's front steps. They didn't come for revenge. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're watching from in the comments. Enjoy the story. The cafeteria smelled of industrial cleaner and overcooked pasta. Most children had already returned to their classrooms. The lunch rush was over. But near the emergency exit, something was happening that would haunt Derek Cole for the rest of his life. Lily Cole, 6 years old with her mother's honey-brown eyes and her father's stubborn chin, was kneeling on the floor. Her pink lunch tray lay upside down against the wall. A bruised apple rolled slowly toward the drain. A crushed peanut butter sandwich leaked jelly onto the tiles. A carton of milk had burst open, spreading white rivers across the cold concrete. Standing over her was Brandon Hayes, 12 years old, broad shoulders, a smirk that suggested cruelty was something he had practiced and perfected. "Your kind doesn't deserve to eat at the table," Brandon said, his voice loud enough for anyone nearby to hear. "Pick it up. That's what you're good for." Lily didn't answer. She had learned that silence sometimes made danger pass faster. Her small hands trembled as she reached for a soggy piece of bread. 10 feet away, Mrs. Patricia Wells, the cafeteria supervisor, stood with her arms crossed. She watched. She waited. She said nothing. The door swung open. Derek Cole pushed through a brown paper bag in his hand. He was 45 years old, 6'2", with a salt and pepper beard and a leather vest that announced his allegiance. Hell's Angels, Texas Chapter. He had ridden 20 minutes from the diner to surprise his daughter with her favorite grilled cheese sandwich. The bag slipped from his fingers when he saw her. His body went rigid. Every muscle demanded something fierce and immediate. He imagined crossing the room in 3 steps. He imagined grabbing Brandon by the collar. He imagined the quick, satisfying physics of punishment. But then Lily looked up. There was no relief in her eyes. No gratitude that her father had arrived. There was only shame. The kind of shame that made a child look as if she was the one who had done something wrong. "Daddy," she whispered. Her voice cracked. "Please don't be mad." Derek's heart stopped. "He does this every day." Lily continued her words, barely audible. "He kicked my tray again." Again. The word struck Derek like a bullet to the chest. He turned his gaze to Mrs. Wells. She uncrossed her arms. Her posture stiffened. Her eyes darted toward the exit. "Mr. Cole," she said, her voice thin and rehearsed. "Children will be children. Lily needs to learn to stand up for herself." Derek's jaw tightened. "How long?" "Excuse me, how long has this been happening?" Mrs. Wells didn't answer. Her silence said everything. Derek didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He walked slowly to his daughter, knelt beside her, and began helping her pick up the scattered food. "It's okay, baby girl," he murmured, his voice steady, even though his hands were shaking. "I'm here now, and this is never going to happen again." Lily looked at him with eyes too old for a 6-year-old. "You promise?" Derek's throat tightened. He pulled her into his arms and held her against his chest. "I promise." He meant it. And he didn't yet know how large that promise would have to become. Now you might be thinking a Hell's Angels member finds his daughter humiliated, and his first move is to help her pick up food. That's not the story you expected. But here's what Derek understood. Brute force might satisfy the moment. It might feel righteous and justified. But it wouldn't change the thing that hurt her. It wouldn't fix the system that allowed this to happen. It wouldn't protect her tomorrow, or next week, or next month. To truly protect Lily, Derek would need something far more powerful than fists. He would need the truth. And the truth, as he was about to discover, ran much deeper than one bully and one negligent teacher. 14 months earlier, Derek Cole lived in Mesa, Arizona. He had a small house with a red front door. He had a motorcycle repair shop that smelled of oil and leather. He had a wife named Sarah who laughed like music and baked cinnamon rolls every Sunday morning. And he had Lily. Life was simple. Life was good. Life was the kind of ordinary that people don't appreciate until it's gone. Sarah had been an emergency room nurse for 12 years before she decided she'd seen enough blood and heartbreak. She traded hospital scrubs for apron strings and opened a tiny bakery called Sweet Sarah's on the corner of Main and 5th. The shop smelled of cardamom and brown sugar. Regulars came for her lemon bars and stayed for her warmth. She had a way of making everyone feel like they mattered. Derek ran his repair shop with his Hell's Angels brothers. They weren't criminals. They weren't thugs. They were mechanics veterans, fathers, men who had found family in leather and chrome when blood relatives had failed them. Lily grew up surrounded by these men. They called her Princess. They lifted her onto their shoulders at barbecues. They taught her to say thank you and yes, sir, and to never let anyone tell her she was less than extraordinary. She laughed constantly in those days. Loudly. Freely. She filled every room with a brightness that seemed impossible to dim. And then everything changed. It started with a headache. Sarah mentioned it casually one morning, rubbing her temples as she poured coffee. "Just tired," she said. "Probably need more sleep." But the headaches didn't stop. They grew worse. Then came the dizziness, the nausea, the moments where she would lose her balance for no reason. Derek begged her to see a doctor. She resisted the way nurses often do, convinced she could diagnose herself. But when she collapsed in the bakery kitchen, there was no more room for denial. The tests came back on a Thursday. Derek remembered the doctor's face. He remembered the way the man's voice dropped. He remembered the words that hollowed out his entire world in a single breath. Stage 4 glioblastoma. Inoperable. Brain cancer. The worst kind. The kind that doesn't negotiate or offer second chances. They gave her 8 months. She lasted 4 tissamtum. Sarah spent her final weeks at home. The living room became her sanctuary. Derek slept on the floor beside her hospital bed, refusing to leave her side. Lily would climb up next to her mother every morning, careful not to disturb the tubes and read picture books out loud. One night, when Lily had finally fallen asleep, Sarah reached for Derek's hand. Her grip was weak, but her eyes were fierce. "I need you to promise me something." Derek leaned closer. "Anything. Protect her." Sarah's voice cracked. "Whatever it takes. She's going to need you to be her everything now. Her mother, her father, her whole world. Don't let anyone hurt her, Derek. Promise me. Tears streamed down his face. I promise. Say it again. I promise, Sarah. I'll protect her. No matter what. Sarah smiled. It was the last time he saw her smile. She died 3 days later, holding his hand with Lily's picture tucked against her heart. After the funeral, Arizona became unbearable. Every corner held a memory. The bakery sat empty, its windows dark. The house echoed with silence. Derek couldn't sleep in their bedroom. He couldn't look at her pillow without breaking down. His brothers in the Texas chapter saw the destruction in his eyes. They offered him an escape. Come to Ridgeview, Marcus Webb said. Marcus was the chapter president, a former Marine with hands like catcher's mitts and a heart bigger than Texas. We've got work for you. Honest work. Diners distribution routes, nothing complicated. Just a fresh start. Derek hesitated. What about Lily, new school, new town, she's only 5. Kids are resilient, Marcus said. And she needs her father alive, not drowning in grief. Derek knew he was right. He packed their lives into a pickup truck. He buckled Lily into the passenger seat. He took one last look at the red front door, and then he drove east toward a sunrise he prayed would hurt a little less. Texas was supposed to be a new beginning. For a while, it almost worked. Derek found rhythm in the diner kitchen, flipping burgers and pouring coffee alongside his brothers. Lily started kindergarten at Pinewood Elementary and came home with finger paintings and stories about her new teacher. But grief doesn't disappear. It just changes shape. By the time Lily turned 6, Derek started noticing things. She stopped asking for playdates. She picked at her dinner instead of eating. She walked with her shoulders curled inward as if she was trying to make herself smaller. Just adjusting, Derek told himself. It takes time. He had no idea that his daughter was fighting a war every single day. A war she believed she had to face alone. The bullying started in Lily's first week at Pinewood. Brandon Hayes had spotted her immediately. The new girl. The quiet one. The one with the father who rode motorcycles and wore leather. My dad says bikers are criminals, Brandon announced to the lunch table on Lily's second day. Your dad's probably been to prison. That's why your mom left. Lily's voice was barely a whisper. My mom didn't leave. She died. Brandon laughed. Good. One less biker family to worry about. The other children didn't laugh. They looked away uncomfortable, but too afraid of Brandon to say anything. That was the beginning. Over the following months, the abuse escalated. Brandon would accidentally knock Lily's tray from her hands. He would trip her in the hallway. He would whisper cruel things when teachers weren't looking. Your mom died because God hates bikers. Nobody wants you here. Why don't you just disappear? Lily learned to be invisible. She ate quickly, walked quickly, kept her head down. She stopped raising her hand in class. She stopped smiling in the hallways. And she never told her father. Not once. Mrs. Patricia Wells saw everything. She saw Brandon kick Lily's tray. She saw him shove her against the lockers. She saw the tears Lily tried to hide. She did nothing. When another teacher asked about the situation, Mrs. Wells shrugged. Kids work these things out themselves. Besides, Brandon's family is very generous to the school. We don't want to create problems. The other teacher frowned. That little girl is being tormented. Mrs. Wells's voice hardened. That little girl needs to toughen up. Life isn't fair. The sooner she learns that, the better. The conversation ended there. Lily tried once to ask for help. She gathered all her courage and walked into Principal David Hartman's office. Her hands were shaking. Her voice trembled. But she told him everything. Principal Hartman listened with a patient expression that never quite reached his eyes. When she finished, he leaned back in his chair and sighed. "Lily, I understand you're having a hard time adjusting. New school, new town, losing your mother, that's a lot for anyone. But Brandon Hayes comes from a very respected family. They've donated the new computer lab, the playground equipment, the library wing. I'm sure whatever happened was just a misunderstanding." Lily's stomach dropped. "But he kicks my lunch every day. He says terrible things about my mom." "Have you tried being nicer to him? Sometimes when we're kind to people, they're kind back." "I tried. He just laughs." Principal Hartman smiled the way adults do when they've already decided not to believe you. "I'll have a word with his teacher, but I'm sure this will all blow over. Just give it time." He never had that word with anyone. Lily walked out of his office understanding something that no 6-year-old should ever have to learn. The adults who were supposed to protect her had chosen to protect someone else instead. That night she lay in bed staring at the ceiling. She thought about telling her father. She imagined his face when he heard what Brandon said about her mother. She imagined the pain it would cause him. She imagined him getting angry, getting in trouble, maybe going to jail like Brandon said bikers always did. She couldn't do that to him. He had already lost so much. He cried sometimes when he thought she was asleep. He held her mother's photograph and whispered to it in the dark. If she told him about Brandon, it would only make everything worse. So Lily made a decision. A decision that would cost her months of suffering. She decided to protect her father by carrying the burden alone. She was 6 years old. Derek found out by accident. He had planned a simple surprise. Lily had been looking pale lately, eating less, sleeping poorly. He thought maybe her favorite sandwich from the diner on Route 9 would cheer her up. He didn't call ahead. He didn't announce himself. He just showed up. And he saw everything. His daughter on her knees. The scattered food, the laughing boy, the teacher who watched and did nothing. In that moment, Derek Cole felt something break inside him. Not his temper, not his patience, something deeper, the promise he had made to Sarah, the sacred vow he had whispered to his dying wife had been violated. Not by him, but by a system that had allowed his child to suffer in silence while adults looked away. He lifted Lily into his arms and carried her out of the cafeteria. He didn't look at Mrs. Wells. He didn't acknowledge Brandon. He just walked. Lily buried her face against his neck. "I'm sorry, Daddy. I didn't want you to be sad." Derek's voice broke. "You have nothing to be sorry for, baby girl. Nothing. This is not your fault. But Brandon said, I don't care what Brandon said. You are the bravest, strongest, most wonderful person I know. And I'm going to fix this. I swear to God, I'm going to fix this." He meant it. What he didn't know yet was just how deep the rot went, and how far he would have to go to cut it out. That night, Derek sat on the edge of Lily's bed. The room was dark, except for a crescent moon nightlight glowing softly on the dresser. Sarah had bought it 3 weeks before she died, knowing Lily was afraid of the dark. "I need you to tell me everything," Derek said softly. "From the beginning." Lily's lower lip trembled. "You'll be mad." "I'll never be mad at you. Never." "Promise, promise." And so Lily told him. She told him about the first day when Brandon announced that bikers were criminals. She told him about the trays knocked from her hands, the trips in the hallway, the whispered cruelty. She told him about going to Principal Hartman, about being told to be nicer, about walking out of his office feeling more alone than ever. She told him about Mrs. Wells, who watched everything and did nothing. She told him about the nights she cried into her pillow, missing her mother, wishing she could disappear. Derek listened without interrupting. His jaw was tight. His hands were fists. But he didn't explode. He didn't storm out. When she finished, he pulled her into his arms and held her until she fell asleep. Then he walked into the kitchen, sat down at the table, and stared at the wall for a very long time. At midnight, he called Marcus Webb. "I need your help." Marcus's voice was instantly alert. "What happened?" Derek told him everything. The bullying, the negligence, the principal who protected a donor's son instead of a grieving child. When he finished, there was a long silence. Then Marcus spoke. "What do you want to do?" Derek's answer was immediate. "I want justice, real justice, not revenge. I want to expose every single person who failed my daughter and make sure it never happens to another kid." Marcus exhaled slowly. "That's a big fight, brother." "I know. It could get ugly. People like the Hayes family don't go down easy. They've got money connections lawyers." "I don't care." Another pause. Then Marcus's voice shifted, becoming harder, more focused. "All right, then let's do this right. No fists, no threats. We're going to bury these people in truth. We're going to document everything, gather every witness, and drag every secret into the light." Derek felt something unlock in his chest. For the first time since the cafeteria, he could breathe. "When do we start?" Marcus's answer was simple. "We already have." The next morning, Derek drove Lily to school. She was quiet, her eyes fixed on the window, watching the trees blur past. "Daddy." "Yeah, baby. What are you going to do?" Derek considered his answer carefully. "I'm going to make sure what happened to you never happens to anyone else." "How?" "By telling the truth. By making people listen. By refusing to let the bad guys win." Lily turned to look at him. Her eyes were still too old, too heavy, too knowing. But somewhere deep inside them, Derek saw something new. Hope. "Will it work?" Derek smiled. "It will, I promise." Lily nodded slowly. Then she reached over and took his hand. "Mom would be proud of you." Derek's throat tightened. He couldn't speak. He just held her hand and drove. At Pinewood Elementary, Principal David Hartman sat in his office reviewing budget projections. He had no idea that in less than 2 weeks, 200 motorcycles would line up outside his school. He had no idea that the quiet biker who had carried his daughter out of the cafeteria was about to become his worst nightmare. He had no idea that the empire of silence he had built was about to come crashing down. All he knew in that comfortable morning hour was that the Hayes family donation had just been deposited. He smiled and sipped his coffee. Derek didn't sleep that night. He sat at the kitchen table with a notepad and a pen, writing down everything Lily had told him. Names, dates, incidents, the pattern of abuse that had gone unchecked for months. At 6 a.m., his phone buzzed. Marcus Webb. "I'm outside. Let's ride." Derek grabbed his jacket and stepped onto the porch. Marcus sat on his Harley engine, idling 2 cups of coffee balanced on the tank. "Brought you fuel," Marcus said, handing him a cup. "We've got a long day ahead." Derek took a sip. "Where do we start?" "The school, but not through the front door. We're going to watch first. Document everything. I want to know exactly what happens in that building before we make a move." They rode to Pinewood Elementary and parked across the street behind a row of oak trees. For 3 hours, they watched. They saw Brandon Hayes shove a smaller boy against the fence during recess. They saw Mrs. Wells glance over, then look away. They saw Principal Hartman walk past the incident without breaking stride. Derek's hands gripped the handlebars until his knuckles turned white. "Easy," Marcus said. "We're not here to react. We're here to record." He pulled out his phone and hit record. The camera captured Brandon pushing another child. It captured Mrs. Wells doing nothing. It captured the systematic negligence that had become routine. "This is just morning recess," Marcus said quietly. "Imagine what happens every day, every week, every month." Derek's voice was low and dangerous. "How do we bring them down?" Marcus put his phone away. "We build a case so airtight that no lawyer, no donor, no politician can make it disappear. We find every family that's been silenced. We gather every piece of evidence. And then we go public in a way they can't ignore. How long will that take? 2 weeks, maybe less if we work fast." Derek nodded. "Then let's work fast." That afternoon, Derek made his first phone call. Rosa Martinez answered on the 3rd ring. Her voice was tired, defeated. "Hello." "Mrs. Martinez, my name is Derek Cole. My daughter Lily goes to Pinewood Elementary. I understand your son Miguel had some problems there too." Silence. Then, barely audible, "Who told you that?" "Another parent. They said Miguel was bullied last year. They said you reported it to the principal and nothing happened." Rosa's breathing changed. Faster. Shallower. "Mr. Cole, I don't want any trouble. We tried to fight this. We lost. They made it very clear that we should keep quiet." "Who made it clear?" "Principal Hartman. He said if we kept pushing, he would review Miguel's disciplinary record. He said there were incidents that could be interpreted differently. My son was the victim, but Hartman threatened to make him look like the problem." Derek felt sick. "They threatened you." "They didn't have to threaten directly. The message was clear. Drop it, or your son pays the price." "Mrs. Martinez, I'm not going to drop it. I'm going to expose everything that's happening at that school. But I need your help. I need you to tell me what happened." Another long silence. Derek could hear Rosa's internal battle through the phone. Finally, she spoke. "My husband said we shouldn't talk to anyone. He said we already lost once." "You didn't lose. You were silenced. There's a difference." Rosa exhaled slowly. "What exactly are you planning to do?" "I'm going to gather every family they've hurt, every teacher they've intimidated, every piece of evidence they thought they buried, and then I'm going to walk into that school board meeting and burn their lies to the ground." "They'll come after you. The Hayes family has connections everywhere. Victor Hayes practically owns this town." "I know, but I made a promise to my daughter, and I made a promise to my wife before she died. I will not break those promises." Rosa was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice had changed. Stronger. Clearer. "Come to my house tomorrow. I'll tell you everything." Derek called 7 more families that night. 4 hung up immediately. 2 listened and said they would think about it. 1, a father named James Peterson, agreed to meet the following day. "My daughter Sophie was terrorized for 6 months, James said when they sat down at a coffee shop the next morning. "Same pattern. Brandon Hayes." Mrs. Wells looked the other way. "When I complained to Hartman, he told me Sophie was probably exaggerating. He suggested she might benefit from counseling to address her attention-seeking behavior." Derek's jaw tightened. "He blamed your daughter." "They always blame the victim. That's how they protect themselves. If the child is the problem, then the school is innocent. Did you document anything? James reached into his bag and pulled out a folder. Emails, incident reports that were ignored, a letter from Hartman dismissing our concerns. I kept everything. Derek opened the folder. The evidence was damning. Formal complaints, brush-off responses, a paper trail of systematic negligence. Why didn't you take this to the school board? James laughed bitterly. Victor Hayes sits on the school board. His brother-in-law is the superintendent. The game is rigged from the top. Then we go above them. Media, state education officials, whoever we have to. James studied Derek carefully. You're really going to do this to take on the Hayes family? I don't have a choice. My daughter was on her knees picking food off the floor while adults watched and did nothing. That's never going to happen again. Not to her, not to anyone. James nodded slowly. Then count me in. Whatever you need. By the end of the week, Derek had assembled a coalition. 12 families, 47 documented incidents, 8 teachers who had witnessed abuse and been told to stay silent. One of those teachers was Emily Sanders, a young woman who had taught at Pinewood for only 2 years. She met Derek in the parking lot after school, nervously checking over her shoulder every few seconds. If they find out I talked to you, I'll lose my job. They won't find out. Not until we're ready. Emily's hands shook as she spoke. I saw Brandon push your daughter down the stairs last month. I reported it to Mrs. Wells. She told me I must have misunderstood what I saw. When I pushed back, she said I should focus on my classroom and stop creating problems. Derek felt rage building in his chest. Did she put that in writing? No, but I wrote my own memo. I dated it and kept a copy at home. I knew something was wrong. I knew they were covering things up. Can you testify at a school board meeting? Emily hesitated. They'll destroy me. They'll try. But there will be 200 people standing with you, and every news camera in Texas. Emily looked at him. Something shifted in her eyes. Fear giving way to something harder. My grandmother was a teacher for 40 years. She told me once that teaching means protecting children even when it costs you everything. I forgot that for a while. I let fear win. It's not too late to remember. Emily nodded slowly. I'll testify. But you have to promise me something. Name it. Promise me these kids will be protected. Promise me that when this is over, things will actually change. Derek held her gaze. I promise. Meanwhile, Marcus Webb had been running his own investigation. As a former Marine intelligence officer, Marcus knew how to dig. He knew how to follow money trails. He knew how to find the secrets people thought they had buried. What he uncovered about Victor Hayes made his blood run cold. Sit down, Marcus told Derek when they met at the chapter clubhouse. This is bigger than we thought. He spread documents across the table. Financial records, donation receipts, internal school communications obtained through a contact at the district office. Victor Hayes has donated $2.3 million to Pinewood Elementary over the past 8 years. Not just to the general fund. Direct payments to specific programs. The computer lab. The playground. The library wing. Every major improvement that school has made came from his wallet. So he bought them. It's worse than that. Look at this. Marcus pointed to a bank statement. 3 years ago, Principal Hartman's nephew applied for a job at Hayes Construction. No experience, no qualifications. He was hired at $65,000 a year. Derek stared at the paper. Hartman's nephew works for Hayes? Gets better? Mrs. Wells received a $10,000 bonus last Christmas. Anonymous donor. But the payment came through a shell company that traces back to Hayes Holdings. They're all on his payroll. Effectively, yes. Hartman protects Brandon because his family depends on Hayes for income. Wells stays silent because Hayes pays her extra to look the other way. The whole system is compromised. Derek leaned back in his chair. This isn't just negligence. This is corruption. Systematic corruption. And it's been going on for years. Your daughter isn't the first victim. She's just the latest. How do we prove it? Marcus smiled grimly. We already have. Bank records, employment records, email communications, a clear pattern of quid pro quo. This is enough to trigger a state investigation. Will the state actually investigate? They will when 200 bikers show up at a school board meeting with cameras rolling and evidence that can't be ignored. Derek looked at the documents spread across the table. Years of abuse, years of cover-ups, years of children suffering while adults protected their paychecks. When do we move? School board meets in 9 days. That gives us time to coordinate with the other families, prep our testimony, and alert the media. We hit them with everything at once. No warning. No time to spin. And if they try to shut us down, Marcus's voice hardened. They won't, because by the time they realize what's happening, the whole world will be watching. That night, Derek tucked Lily into bed. She had been quieter than usual, sensing that something big was happening. She didn't ask questions, but her eyes followed him everywhere. Daddy, are you going to fight the bad people? Derek smoothed her hair back from her forehead. I'm going to tell the truth about them. That's the most powerful weapon there is. Is the truth stronger than their money? Derek paused. Such an old question from such a young voice. Yes, baby. In the end, the truth is always stronger. Sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes it hurts before it helps. But the truth wins. Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she reached under her pillow and pulled out a photograph. Sarah's photograph. The one Derek thought he had lost. I talk to Mommy sometimes, Lily whispered. I tell her about school, about Brandon, about everything. Derek's heart shattered. You do? She doesn't answer. But I feel like she listens. Is that crazy? No, sweetheart. That's not crazy at all. I told her you were going to fix things. I told her you were brave like she always said. Derek couldn't speak. Tears rolled down his cheeks. Lily reached up and touched his face. Don't cry, Daddy. Mommy said crying was okay. She said it means you love someone so much it hurts. Derek pulled her into his arms and held her tight. I love you, Lily. More than anything in this world. I know. I love you too, Daddy. That night after Lily fell asleep, Derek stood in the backyard staring at the stars. He thought about Sarah, about the promise he made, about the long road ahead. He thought about all the families who had been silenced, all the children who had suffered, all the adults who had chosen comfort over courage. And he made himself another promise. This time, silence would not win. The next morning, everything changed. Derek was preparing breakfast when his phone rang. The caller ID showed a number he didn't recognize. Mr. Cole. The voice was professional. Cold. This is Attorney Warren Blake. I represent Victor Hayes. Mr. Hayes is aware of certain activities you've been engaged in recently. Activities that could be characterized as harassment and defamation. Derek's grip tightened on the phone. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. You've been contacting families, gathering information, making accusations against Mr. Hayes' son and against employees of Pinewood Elementary. Those aren't accusations. They're facts. That's a matter of interpretation, Mr. Cole. The law takes a dim view of individuals who engage in campaigns to destroy someone's reputation based on unsubstantiated claims. My daughter was forced to eat off the floor. That's not unsubstantiated. That's what I witnessed with my own eyes. Children have conflicts, Mr. Cole. It's unfortunate, but it happens. What's happening now is that you are attempting to weaponize a minor schoolyard incident to attack a respected family. Derek laughed. Schoolyard incident. Your client's son has been terrorizing children for years. Teachers have been bribed to look the other way. The principal has been protecting a bully because his family takes money from Hayes. There was a pause on the other end. When Blake spoke again, his voice was harder. Mr. Cole, I'm going to be very direct with you. If you continue down this path, you will face legal consequences. Mr. Hayes has considerable resources. He will pursue defamation charges. He will seek damages. And given your association with a certain motorcycle organization, I suspect a thorough examination of your background might yield some uncomfortable findings. Is that a threat? It's a professional observation. You're a single father with a young daughter. Is this really a battle you want to fight? Derek felt something cold and clear settle into his bones. Let me tell you something, Mr. Blake. I watched my wife die 14 months ago. I held her hand while she took her last breath. Before she died, she made me promise to protect our daughter. I intend to keep that promise. Admirable sentiment. But sentiment won't protect you in court. I'm not looking for protection. I'm looking for justice, and I'm going to get it whether your client likes it or not. You're making a mistake, Mr. Cole. No, Mr. Blake. Victor Hayes made the mistake when he let his son terrorize children and paid people to cover it up. All I'm doing is shining a light on the truth. He hung up before Blake could respond. His hands were shaking. Not from fear, from something else entirely. He called Marcus immediately. They know, Derek said. They sent a lawyer. They're trying to scare me off. Marcus's voice was calm. Good. Good. It means they're worried. If they were confident, they'd ignore you. The fact that they sent their lawyer means they know we're onto something real. They're trying to stop us before we get too far. What do? We accelerate the timeline. Forget 9 days. We go in 6. And we make sure every move we make is documented, every call recorded, every threat preserved. If they want to play dirty, we'll use their dirt against them. You think they'll back down? No. Men like Victor Hayes don't back down. They double down. That's why we have to be ready for anything. What's anything? Marcus paused. Anything means they might try to discredit you. They might dig into your past, your chapter, your finances. They might try to pressure other families to back off. They might even try something more direct. Like what? I don't know yet. But starting today, you don't go anywhere alone. And Lily doesn't leave your sight. Derek's blood went cold. You think they'd go after my daughter? I think desperate men do desperate things. And Victor Hayes has built an empire on secrets. He's not going to let that empire fall without a fight. That afternoon, Derek picked Lily up from school early. She climbed into the truck, her backpack clutched against her chest. Why are you picking me up, Daddy? It's not time yet. I just wanted to see you, sweetheart. Is that okay? Lily studied his face with those two wise eyes. Something's wrong. Derek forced a smile. Nothing's wrong. Everything's going to be fine. You always say that when something's wrong. He couldn't lie to her. Not after everything they'd been through. Some people are trying to stop us from telling the truth. They're the same people who let Brandon hurt you. They don't want anyone to know what they did. Lily's small hands tightened on her backpack. Are they going to hurt you? No, baby. No one's going to hurt me. And no one's going to hurt you, I promise. You promised Mommy you'd protect me. I did. Are you going to break that promise? Derek reached over and took her hand. Never. Not ever. As long as I'm alive, you're safe. That's not just a promise. That's a fact. Lily nodded slowly. Then she said something that nearly broke him. Mommy protected me too, even when she was sick, even when it hurt her. She never stopped. I know, sweetheart. She was really brave. The bravest person I ever knew. Lily looked out the window, watching the trees pass by. I want to be brave like her. I want to help you fight the bad people. Derek's throat tightened. You already are brave, Lily. The bravest 6-year-old in the world. Really, really. And when this is over, everyone's going to know it. 3 days before the school board meeting, Derek received a visitor. He was working in the diner kitchen when Marcus walked in with a woman Derek didn't recognize. She was in her 50s, well-dressed, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Derek, this is Patricia Nguyen. She's a reporter with the Houston Chronicle. She's been covering education corruption stories for 15 years. Patricia extended her hand. Mr. Cole, Marcus has told me about your situation. I'd like to hear more. They sat in a back booth away from prying ears. Derek told her everything. The bullying, the cover-ups, the threats from Victor Hayes' lawyer. Patricia listened without interrupting, taking occasional notes. When Derek finished, she sat back and studied him. You understand what you're up against. Victor Hayes has spent decades building influence in this community. Politicians owe him favors. Business owners depend on his contracts. Half the school board has accepted donations from his foundation. I know. If I write this story, it's going to get ugly. They'll attack you personally. They'll try to discredit everything you say. They might even come after me. Are you willing to do it anyway? Patricia smiled. Mr. Cole, I've been waiting for a story like this my entire career. A story where the little guy fights back against a corrupt system and wins. Most of the time, the system wins. Most of the time, people give up. But every once in a while, someone refuses to quit. I'm not quitting. I can see that. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to verify every piece of evidence you have. I'm going to interview every family, every teacher, everyone willing to talk. And then the morning of the school board meeting, I'm going to publish the most comprehensive exposé this district has ever seen. Why wait until the meeting? Maximum impact. If I publish before, they'll have time to prepare a response, spin the story, discredit the witnesses. But if the story drops the same morning as your testimony, they'll be blindsided. They won't be able to control the narrative. Derek nodded. What do you need from me? Everything. Every document. Every recording. Every name. And I need you to trust me. I just met you. Patricia leaned forward. I know. But I've been doing this for a long time. I've seen what happens when communities let corruption fester. Children suffer. Families break apart. Good people lose faith. This story matters. Not just for your daughter, but for every child in that school. Derek looked at Marcus. His brother nodded slightly. Okay, Derek said. You have everything we've got. Patricia gathered her notes and stood. I'll be in touch. And Mr. Cole, be careful. Men like Victor Hayes don't go down without a fight. The next 3 days are going to be the most dangerous. Derek watched her leave. Dangerous. The word echoed in his mind. He had faced danger before. In the Marines. On the road with his brothers. In the dark nights after Sarah died, when the weight of grief almost crushed him. But this was different. This time he wasn't just fighting for himself. He was fighting for Lily. For every child who had been told to stay silent. For every parent who had been threatened into submission. For every teacher who had been forced to look away. and he was going to win, no matter what it cost. That night he called every family in their coalition. 3 days, he told them. 3 days until we change everything. Be ready. Be brave. And whatever happens, don't back down. One by one, they promised. Rosa Martinez, James Peterson, Emily Sanders, a dozen others. All of them scared. All of them determined. All of them ready to fight. Derek hung up the phone and looked at the photograph of Sarah on the mantel. "We're almost there," he whispered. "I'm keeping my promise. I'm protecting her, just like you asked." The photograph didn't answer. But somewhere deep in his heart, Derek felt something warm. Something that felt like hope. Something that felt like Sarah still watching over them, still believing in him. And in the quiet of that Texas night with the stars burning bright above and the battle ahead, Derek Cole closed his eyes. Tomorrow, the real fight would begin. The morning of the school board meeting arrived with a phone call that changed everything. Derek was buttoning his shirt when his phone rang. Patricia Nguyen's name flashed on the screen. "It's live," she said. "The story just went up. Front page of the Houston Chronicle website. By noon, every news outlet in Texas will be running it." Derek's heart pounded. "How bad is it for them?" "Devastating. I verified everything. The payments to Mrs. Wells, Hartman's nephew on Hayes's payroll, the suppressed complaints. It's all there. And Derek, there's something else." "What?" "3 more families came forward after I started digging. Families who never reported because they were too scared. One of them has a recording. A recording of Principal Hartman explicitly telling a mother that her son's complaint would disappear if she stopped pushing." Derek closed his eyes. "He actually said that, on tape, clear as day, Hartman is finished, and when Victor Hayes realizes his protection is gone, he's going to panic. Panicked men are dangerous men. Which is why you need to be careful tonight. The whole state is going to be watching. Hayes will try something. I don't know what, but he won't go down quietly." Derek thanked her and hung up. He walked into Lily's room. She was sitting on her bed already dressed, holding the photograph of Sarah. "Is today the day, Daddy? Today's the day, sweetheart. Are you scared?" Derek knelt beside her. "A little. Are you?" Lily nodded. "But Mommy always said being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do the right thing even when you are scared." Derek's throat tightened. "Your mommy was the smartest person I ever knew. I want to come with you tonight." The request hit him like a punch to the chest. "Lily, it might get ugly. People might say mean things. I know, but it's my story too. I want them to see me. I want them to know I'm not invisible." Derek looked at his daughter. 6 years old, already braver than most adults he knew. "Okay," he said finally. "You can come, but you stay close to me, no matter what happens." Lily nodded solemnly. "I promise." By 5 o'clock, the parking lot of the Ridgeview Community Center was already filling up. Derek arrived with Marcus and found Rosa Martinez waiting near the entrance. Her eyes were red like she hadn't slept. "Have you seen the news?" she asked. "I saw it. It's everywhere. My phone hasn't stopped ringing. Other parents, teachers, people I don't even know. They're all asking if it's true." "It's true. Every word." Rosa looked at the growing crowd. "Do you think it will be enough?" "It has to be." James Peterson appeared, his daughter Sophie holding his hand. Behind him came Emily Sanders, pale but determined. Then more families. One by one they gathered. 12 families who had been silenced. 12 families who had decided to speak. And then the motorcycles arrived. The sound started as a distant rumble like thunder rolling across the plains. It grew louder, closer, until the air itself seemed to vibrate. Derek turned to watch. 200 Hell's Angels rode into the parking lot in perfect formation. Chrome gleaming, engines roaring, a wall of leather and steel that stretched as far as he could see. They parked in orderly rows and dismounted in silence. No shouting, no posturing. Just 200 men in suits worn over their cuts walking calmly toward the community center. Marcus stepped forward to greet them. "Brothers, thank you for coming." An older rider with a gray beard and weathered hands clasped Marcus's shoulder. "You called, we answered. That's what family does." Derek felt something swell in his chest. Pride. Gratitude. The overwhelming knowledge that he wasn't fighting alone. Lily tugged on his hand. "Daddy, are all those men here for us?" "They're here for you, sweetheart. They're here because what happened to you matters." Lily stared at the sea of bikers. Her eyes went wide. "That's a lot of people who care." "More than you know, baby. More than you know." Inside the community center, the 5 school board members took their seats behind a long table. Their faces were tight, controlled, but Derek could see the fear beneath the surface. They had seen the news. They knew what was coming. The room filled quickly. Families, teachers, reporters, camera crews from Houston and Dallas and San Antonio. The air crackled with tension. And in the back row, Victor Hayes sat with his lawyer, Warren Blake. His face was a mask of controlled fury. Board President Helen Crawford cleared her throat. "This meeting will come to order. We have several items on tonight's agenda, beginning with Madam President." Derek stood. His voice cut through the room like a blade. "I'd like to address the board." Crawford's eyes narrowed. "Sir, public comments are scheduled for the end of the meeting." "With respect, ma'am, I don't think this can wait, and I don't think you want it to." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Crawford glanced at her fellow board members. They looked terrified. "Fine," she said tightly. "You have 5 minutes." Derek walked to the microphone. His hands were steady. His voice was clear. "My name is Derek Cole. 14 months ago, my wife Sarah died of brain cancer. Before she died, she made me promise one thing: protect our daughter, whatever it takes." He paused, letting the words settle. 3 weeks ago, I walked into the cafeteria at Pinewood Elementary to surprise my daughter with lunch. What I found instead broke something inside me. His voice dropped lower. My 6-year-old daughter Lily was on her knees, picking food off the floor, trembling, while a 12-year-old boy stood over her laughing, and while a teacher watched and did nothing. Gasps echoed through the room. Cameras flashed. I wanted to hurt someone that day. I wanted to grab that boy and teach him a lesson he'd never forget. But I didn't. Because violence wouldn't fix what was broken. Violence wouldn't change the system that allowed my daughter to suffer in silence for months. Derek turned and looked directly at Principal Hartman, who sat in the second row. Hartman's face had gone gray. I tried the right way first. My daughter tried the right way. She went to Principal Hartman and told him what was happening. Do you know what he said? Derek's voice hardened. He said Brandon Hayes comes from a respected family. He said she should try being nicer. He said it would all blow over. Hartman shifted in his seat. Sweat beaded on his forehead. But it didn't blow over. It got worse. And when other families complained, their complaints disappeared too. Because Victor Hayes had donated $2.3 million to this school. Because Principal Hartman's nephew works at Hayes Construction. Because Mrs. Patricia Wells received $10,000 last Christmas to look the other way. The room erupted. People shouted. Camera crews pushed forward. Board members looked at each other in panic. Helen Crawford banged her gavel. Order, order! Derek waited for the noise to subside. Then he continued. I'm not here for revenge. I'm not here to threaten anyone. I'm here because 47 children were bullied at Pinewood Elementary over the past 5 years. 47 complaints that were ignored. 47 families that were silenced. He gestured toward the back of the room. And I'm here with 200 men who rode from across Texas because they believe children matter more than donations. They're not here to intimidate. They're here to witness. They're here to make sure the truth can't be buried again. Derek reached into his jacket and pulled out a thick folder. In this folder, you'll find documentation of every suppressed complaint. Bank records showing payments to school employees. Employment records proving quid pro quo arrangements. Audio recordings of administrators dismissing victims. He placed the folder on the table in front of the board. The Houston Chronicle published their investigation this morning. State education officials have been notified. But the decision about what happens next is yours. You can continue protecting the powerful, or you can finally protect the children you were elected to serve. Derek stepped back from the microphone. The room was silent. Then Victor Hayes stood up. His face was red. His hands were shaking. His carefully maintained composure had shattered. "This is outrageous," he shouted. "This man is a criminal. He's part of a motorcycle gang. He's using his daughter as a prop to destroy a respected family." Derek didn't flinch. "Mr. Hayes, I've never been arrested. I've never been convicted of any crime. I served 8 years in the United States Marine Corps. I've paid taxes, followed the law, and raised my daughter the best I could after her mother died. Can you say the same about protecting children?" Hayes's lawyer grabbed his arm. "Victor, sit down. This isn't helping." But Hayes pulled free. "You have no idea who you're dealing with. I built this town. I fund the programs that keep this school running. Without me, there would be no computers, no playground, no library. And with you," Derek said quietly, "there were 47 children who learned that money matters more than their safety." Hayes lunged forward. 2 of his associates grabbed him and held him back. "You'll regret this," Hayes screamed. "I'll destroy you. I'll take everything you have." Derek looked at him calmly. "Mr. Hayes, I've already lost everything that mattered. My wife is dead. My daughter was eating off the floor while adults watched. You can't hurt me anymore. But I can hurt you. Not with fists, with truth." The room went silent. Helen Crawford cleared her throat. Her voice was shaky. "Mr. Cole, the board will take a brief recess to review the materials you've provided." "Take all the time you need, ma'am. We're not going anywhere." The board members filed out. The moment they disappeared, the room exploded with noise. Reporters surrounded Derek. Cameras flashed. Questions flew from every direction. Marcus pushed through the crowd and grabbed Derek's shoulder. "That was incredible, brother." "It's not over yet." "No. But you drew blood. Hayes is rattled. The board is terrified. Now we just have to finish it." Rosa Martinez appeared, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you. Thank you for doing what I couldn't do." Derek shook his head. "You're here. You're standing up. That's all that matters." Across the room, James Peterson was talking to Patricia and Gwyn. Emily Sanders was surrounded by other teachers, all of them talking rapidly, gesturing their faces alive with something Derek hadn't seen before. Hope. Lily tugged on his hand. "Daddy." Derek knelt down to her level. "What is it, sweetheart?" The mean man was really angry. He was. "Are you scared of him?" Derek thought about the question. Really thought about it. "No, baby. I'm not scared of him. Men like Victor Hayes are only powerful when people are afraid to stand up to them. Once you stop being afraid, they're just angry men with loud voices. Lily nodded slowly. I'm not scared of Brandon anymore either. Good. You shouldn't be. Because I'm brave like Mommy. Derek's eyes burned. Exactly like Mommy. The board returned after 40 minutes. Their faces were ashen. Whatever they had discussed behind closed doors, it hadn't been comfortable. Helen Crawford took her seat and gripped the gavel like it was the only thing keeping her upright. The board has reviewed the materials provided by Mr. Cole and cross-referenced them with this morning's Houston Chronicle report. We have also been informed that state education officials will be launching a formal investigation beginning tomorrow. She paused, her jaw tight. In light of these developments, the board has voted to take the following immediate actions. Principal David Hartman is suspended without pay pending the results of the state investigation. Gasps rippled through the room. Hartman's face went white. Mrs. Patricia Wells is placed on administrative leave, also pending investigation. Crawford's voice wavered, but she continued. Additionally, the board will commission an independent review of all bullying complaints filed over the past 10 years. Any complaints that were improperly handled will be reopened and addressed. Victor Hayes shot to his feet. This is a witch hunt. You're destroying careers based on the word of a biker and a few disgruntled parents. Crawford turned to face him. Something had changed in her eyes. The fear was still there, but beneath it something harder had emerged. Mr. Hayes, your family's contributions to this district have been significant, but we have a responsibility to the children of this community. That responsibility was not met. These actions are necessary and appropriate. You'll regret this, Helen. I promise you'll regret this. Perhaps, but I would have regretted doing nothing even more. Hayes grabbed his briefcase and stormed toward the exit. His lawyer followed, phone already pressed to his ear. As he passed, Derek Hayes stopped. This isn't over, he hissed. You've made an enemy today, a powerful enemy. Derek met his gaze without blinking. I've had enemies before, Mr. Hayes. I'm still standing. Hayes's face twisted with rage. Then he was gone. The room buzzed with energy. Families hugged. Teachers wept. The bikers in the back stood in silence, their presence a reminder that this victory had been a community effort. Patricia Nguyen appeared at Derek's side. How does it feel? Like the beginning of something, not the end. You're right. Hayes won't stop fighting. The investigation could take months. There will be appeals, counter-accusations, legal battles. I know. But you won tonight, Derek. You showed this town that one person, one father, could stand up to corruption and win. That matters. It wasn't just me. It was everyone. The families, the teachers, my brothers. Patricia smiled. That's what makes it powerful. A lone voice can be silenced. But a chorus, that's something else entirely. Derek found Lily in the crowd. She was sitting with Sophie Peterson, the two girls talking quietly. Sophie was laughing at something Lily had said. He watched them for a moment. Two girls who had been tormented. Two girls who had been told their pain didn't matter. Now sitting together smiling, connected by something that went beyond words. That was worth everything. Every sleepless night. Every threatening phone call. Every moment of doubt. Marcus appeared beside him. Ready to head out? Almost. Derek walked to the front of the room and raised his hand. The crowd quieted. I want to thank everyone who came tonight. The families who were brave enough to speak. The teachers who risked their jobs to tell the truth. My brothers who rode from across Texas to stand with us. He paused. This fight isn't over. Victor Hayes will push back. The investigation will take time. There will be setbacks and challenges we can't predict. But tonight we proved something important. We proved that the truth matters, that children matter, that a community united can overcome any amount of money or influence. He looked at Lily. 14 months ago, I promised my dying wife that I would protect our daughter. Tonight, I kept that promise. But I didn't do it alone. None of us are alone. And as long as we remember that we can't be defeated. The room erupted in applause. Derek walked back to Lily and lifted her into his arms. She wrapped her arms around his neck and held on tight. "Did we win, Daddy?" Derek looked at the crowd of families, teachers, and bikers, at the cameras that would carry this story across the state, at the empty seats where Hartman and Hayes had been sitting. "We won tonight, sweetheart. We won tonight." Outside, the air was cool and clean. The 200 bikers formed a corridor from the building to the parking lot, a wall of leather and chrome that felt like protection. As Derek carried Lily toward his truck, an older biker stepped forward. It was the man with the gray beard who had arrived with the convoy. "Brother," the man said, "what you did in there took guts, real guts. I couldn't have done it without you all." The man smiled. "That little girl is lucky to have a father like you." Derek looked at Lily, already half asleep, against his shoulder. "I'm the lucky one." The biker nodded and stepped back. One by one, the others started their motorcycles. The rumble grew, filling the night, a sound that seemed to shake the very foundations of Ridgeview. Derek buckled Lily into her seat. She was asleep before he closed the door. He stood for a moment, watching the convoy begin to pull out. 200 motorcycles streaming into the darkness, their taillights like red stars against the black Texas sky. His phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Chapter meeting tomorrow. We need to talk about what comes next." Derek typed back, "I'll be there." He climbed into the truck and started the engine. Through the windshield, he could see the community center. The lights were still on. People were still talking, still processing what had happened. But for Derek, the night was over. He pulled out of the parking lot and headed home. In the rearview mirror, Lily slept peacefully, her face soft in the passing streetlights. For the first time in months, she looked like the little girl she was supposed to be. Not a victim, not invisible. Just a child, safe and loved, with a father who would move heaven and earth to protect her. Derek drove in silence, thinking about Sarah. He could almost hear her voice. "You did good, Derek. You kept your promise." A single tear rolled down his cheek. He wiped it away and kept driving. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new battles, new obstacles. But tonight, for the first time since Sarah died, Derek Cole felt something he thought he had lost forever. Peace. The fallout came faster than anyone expected. Derek woke the next morning to his phone buzzing non-stop. 17 missed calls, 43 text messages. His voicemail was full. Patricia Nguyen's story had gone viral overnight. The headline had been picked up by CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, and every major outlet in between. 200 bikers stand up for bullied girl was trending on social media. Videos from the school board meeting had been viewed over 3 million times. And Victor Hayes was in full damage control mode. Derek scrolled through the news as he made coffee. Hayes had released a statement at midnight calling the accusations baseless attacks from a disgruntled parent with an agenda. His lawyers were threatening defamation suits against Patricia Nguyen and the Houston Chronicle. His PR team was flooding social media with posts about his charitable contributions and community service. But it wasn't working. The comments sections were brutal. People were sharing their own stories of bullying and institutional failure. Parents from other districts were asking if similar corruption existed in their schools. The hashtag #ProtectOurKids had been used over 200,000 times. Derek's phone rang. Marcus Webb. You watching the news? Hard to miss. Hayes is scrambling. His business partners are getting nervous. I got a call from a buddy who works at the county courthouse. 3 civil lawsuits were filed this morning against Hayes Hartman and the school district. Derek set down his coffee. 3. The Martinez family, the Petersons, and a family named Crawford, no relation to Helen. Their son was bullied so badly 3 years ago that they had to transfer him to private school. They never reported because Hayes personally called the father and threatened to destroy his business. Hayes called him directly. And guess what? The father recorded the call. Derek felt the ground shift beneath him. He recorded it. Every word. Hayes explicitly threatened to bankrupt him if he went public. That recording is now in the hands of the district attorney. This is bigger than a school board issue now. Way bigger. We're talking potential criminal charges, witness intimidation, conspiracy, maybe even extortion. Derek closed his eyes. He had wanted justice for Lily. He had wanted the truth to come out. But this was becoming something else entirely. Something that would reshape the entire community. What do we do now? We stay the course. We let the legal system do its work, and we make sure no one forgets what happened. That afternoon, the state education officials arrived. Derek watched from across the street as 3 black SUVs pulled into the Pinewood Elementary parking lot. Men and women in suits stepped out carrying briefcases and laptops. They were greeted by a nervous assistant superintendent who kept wringing his hands. The investigation had begun. Within hours, boxes of files were being loaded into the SUVs. Computers were seized. Teachers were pulled from classrooms for interviews. The school that had once operated as Victor Hayes's personal fiefdom was now under the microscope of state authorities. Derek's phone buzzed. A text from Emily Sanders. They interviewed me for 2 hours. I told them everything. I feel like I can finally breathe. He typed back, You did the right thing. You're braver than you know. Another text, this one from Rosa Martinez. My son is smiling again. First time in months. Thank you, Derek. Thank you for fighting when we couldn't. Derek stared at the message. His throat tightened. This was why he had done it. Not for headlines or viral videos. For the children who deserved protection. For the parents who deserved to be heard. For the simple fundamental truth that the powerful should never be allowed to prey on the weak. Lily came running into the kitchen. Daddy, Sophie's mom called. Sophie wants to have a play date. Derek scooped her up. That sounds wonderful, sweetheart. Can she come over? Please. Of course she can. Lily's face lit up with pure joy. The kind of joy Derek hadn't seen since Arizona, since before Sarah got sick. I have a friend, Daddy, a real friend. Derek held her close. You have lots of friends, baby. More than you know. But Victor Hayes wasn't finished. The attack came on the 3rd day after the school board meeting, and it came from a direction Derek never anticipated. He was working at the diner when his phone rang. An unknown number. Mr. Cole, this is Detective Raymond Torres with the Ridgeview Police Department. We need you to come to the station. Derek's blood went cold. What's this about? We received a complaint this morning. An allegation of assault. The complainant is Brandon Hayes. What? According to Brandon, you grabbed him and threatened him in the school parking lot 3 days before the board meeting. He claims he has bruises consistent with being grabbed forcefully. Derek gripped the phone so hard his knuckles went white. That's a lie. I've never touched that boy. I've never even spoken to him. I understand, sir, but we're required to investigate all complaints. Can you come in voluntarily, or do we need to issue a warrant? Derek's mind raced. This was Hayes's countermove. If he couldn't win in the court of public opinion, he would try to win in an actual court. Get Derek arrested, destroy his credibility, turn the narrative. I'll come voluntarily, but I want my lawyer present. That's your right, sir. We'll see you at 2 o'clock. Derek hung up and immediately called Marcus. They're trying to frame me. Brandon Hayes filed a false assault complaint. Marcus's voice was calm but hard. Where are you? The diner. Stay there. I'm making some calls. Don't talk to anyone until I get there. An hour later, Derek sat in the Ridgeview Police Department interview room with Marcus and a lawyer named Thomas Wright, a former prosecutor who now worked with families in crisis situations. Detective Torres sat across from them, a folder open on the table. Mr. Cole, let me be clear. This is a preliminary interview. You're not under arrest. We're simply gathering information. I understand, but I want it on record that I have never touched, threatened, or even spoken directly to Brandon Hayes. The first time I saw him was in that cafeteria when he was standing over my daughter. Torres nodded. Brandon claims the incident occurred in the school parking lot at approximately 3:15 p.m. on a Tuesday, 3 days before the board meeting. He says you approached him, grabbed his arm, and threatened to, quote, make him pay for what he did to your daughter. Derek shook his head. That's completely false. On that Tuesday, I was at the diner from noon until 6 o'clock. I have time card security footage and at least a dozen witnesses who can verify my location. Thomas Wright leaned forward. Detective, my client has an airtight alibi. This complaint is clearly fabricated as retaliation for Mr. Cole's testimony at the school board meeting. I would urge you to investigate the timing and motivation behind this allegation. Torres studied Derek for a long moment. Mr. Cole, I'm going to be honest with you. This complaint smells wrong. The timing is suspicious. The details are vague. And frankly, Victor Hayes called my captain this morning to personally urge a thorough investigation. He called your captain. He did, which is unusual to say the least. Derek felt a spark of hope. So you don't believe it? I didn't say that. I said it smells wrong. But I have to follow procedure. We'll verify your alibi. We'll interview potential witnesses. If your story checks out, the complaint will be dismissed. And if Hayes pressures your department to pursue it anyway. Torres's jaw tightened. I've been a cop for 22 years, Mr. Cole. I don't take orders from civilians, no matter how much money they have. Derek met his gaze. I appreciate that. Don't thank me yet. Just make sure your alibi is solid. It was. Within 24 hours, the diner's security footage had been reviewed. 12 employees provided sworn statements. Derek's whereabouts were confirmed beyond any doubt. The complaint was dismissed, but the damage had been done. Headlines had already run. Father who accused Hayes family faces assault allegations. The narrative had been muddied, even if only temporarily. Derek sat in his truck outside the police station, staring at the steering wheel. Marcus climbed into the passenger seat. You okay? He tried to destroy me. He tried. He failed. What's stopping him from trying again? He has unlimited resources, lawyers, PR teams, connections everywhere. I'm just a guy with a motorcycle and a 6-year-old daughter. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke. Derek, let me tell you something. I've been in this club for 30 years. I've seen fights that seemed impossible. I've seen brothers face enemies with more money, more power, more everything. You know what I've learned. What? The truth doesn't need money. The truth doesn't need connections. The truth just needs someone willing to tell it and keep telling it until people listen. Hayes has spent decades building walls of lies, You knocked those walls down in one night. He's panicking because he's never faced anyone like you. Anyone like me, someone who can't be bought, threatened, or scared off. Someone who has nothing to lose and everything to fight for. That's the most dangerous kind of enemy, Derek, and Hayes knows it. Derek looked at his friend. So what do we do now? We keep fighting. We let the legal process work. And we make sure that when this is over, Victor Hayes and everyone who protected him faces real consequences. The state investigation expanded rapidly. Within a week, investigators had uncovered evidence that went far beyond Pinewood Elementary. Victor Hayes' influence had spread to 3 other schools in the district. Donations had been made, favors had been exchanged, complaints had been buried. Principal David Hartman was formally terminated. His teaching license was revoked pending a hearing. He released a statement claiming he was a scapegoat, but no one was listening. Mrs. Patricia Wells resigned before she could be fired. She reportedly moved out of state, though no one could confirm where. And then the biggest bombshell dropped. 2 weeks after the school board meeting, the district attorney announced criminal charges against Victor Hayes: witness intimidation, conspiracy to obstruct justice, bribery of public officials. Hayes was arrested at his home at 6 o'clock in the morning. News cameras captured him being led out in handcuffs, his face a mask of disbelief. Derek watched the footage on his phone sitting in Lily's room while she slept. The man who had terrorized families for years. The man who had paid to protect his son's cruelty. The man who had tried to frame Derek for assault. In handcuffs. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like justice. Slow, painful, necessary justice. His phone buzzed. Patricia Nguyen. Are you watching? I'm watching. How does it feel? Derek thought about the question. Like the end of something, and the beginning of something else. The DA's office wants to talk to you. They're building a comprehensive case. Your testimony could be crucial. I'll do whatever they need. Derek, you need to understand something. This case is going to get national attention. Hayes' lawyers are going to fight with everything they have. It could take years to resolve. Are you prepared for that? Derek looked at Lily, peaceful in her sleep. I'm prepared for whatever it takes. The community response was overwhelming. In the days following Hayes' arrest, something remarkable happened. People started talking. Not just about bullying, but about all the ways that money and influence had corrupted their town. Business owners who had been pressured by Hayes came forward. Politicians who had accepted his donations returned the money. Churches organized community meetings to discuss child protection. And at Pinewood Elementary, everything changed. A new principal was appointed. Dr. Angela Morrison, a veteran educator with a reputation for putting children first. Her first act was to implement a comprehensive anti-bullying program. Her second act was to meet personally with every family that had filed complaints over the past 5 years. She met with Derek on a Thursday afternoon and Mr. Cole, I want to thank you for what you did. It took extraordinary courage. I just wanted to protect my daughter. You did more than that. You showed this community that silence is not acceptable, that protecting children is everyone's responsibility. Derek nodded slowly. What happens to Brandon Hayes? Dr. Morrison's expression grew serious. Brandon has been transferred to a behavioral intervention program. He'll receive intensive counseling and therapy. His actions were terrible, but he's also a child. A child who was never taught that cruelty has consequences. You think he can change? I think everyone deserves the chance to change. Whether they take that chance is up to them. Derek thought about that, about cycles of behavior, about learned cruelty and learned kindness. I hope he takes it, not for my sake, for his. Dr. Morrison smiled. You're a good man, Mr. Cole. I'm just a father trying to keep a promise. That night, Derek found Lily in the backyard, staring up at the stars. He sat down beside her on the grass. "What are you thinking about, sweetheart?" "Mommy, do you think she can see us from up there?" Derek looked at the vast Texas sky. "I think she can." "Do you think she's proud?" "I know she is." Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that stopped Derek's heart. "I talked to Brandon today." Derek stiffened. "What?" "He called me. Dr. Morrison said he wanted to apologize, so I talked to him." Derek's protective instincts screamed. "What did he say?" "He said he was sorry. He said he didn't know why he was so mean. He said his dad always told him that people like us didn't matter, but now he knows that's not true." "How did that make you feel?" Lily thought about it. "Sad. For him. His dad taught him to be mean. That's not really his fault, is it?" Derek felt something shift inside him. His 6-year-old daughter, who had been tormented for months, was finding compassion for her tormentor. "No, baby. It's not entirely his fault. But he still made choices. He still hurt people." "I know. But maybe he can make different choices now. Maybe he can be better." "Maybe he can." Lily leaned against her father's shoulder. "Mommy would have forgiven him. She always said that forgiveness isn't for the other person. It's for you, so you don't have to carry the hurt forever." Derek's eyes burned. "Your mommy was very wise." "I know. I want to be like her." "You already are, sweetheart. More than you know." They sat together in silence, father and daughter, watching the stars wheel overhead. In the weeks that followed, the legal process ground forward. Victor Hayes was released on bail, but immediately faced civil lawsuits from 15 families. His business partners distanced themselves. His political connections evaporated. The empire he had built over decades began to crumble. The Texas state legislature took notice. A representative from Houston introduced a bill requiring schools to maintain independent reporting channels for bullying complaints, bypassing administrators who might have conflicts of interest. They called it Lily's Law. When Derek heard, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Daddy, they named a law after me," Lily asked, her eyes wide. "They did, sweetheart. But I didn't do anything. You did all the work." Derek knelt down to her level. "You did the most important thing of all. You survived. You kept going even when it was hard. And you told the truth when it mattered most." "But I was scared. Being scared doesn't mean you weren't brave. It means you were brave anyway." Lily processed this. Then she smiled. "So I'm brave like Mommy, and brave like you. Braver than both of us put together." Derek was invited to testify before the state legislature. He drove to Austin with Lily beside him, her face pressed against the window as they passed through the Texas hill country. "Are you nervous, Daddy?" "A little." "That's okay. Remember what Mommy said. Being nervous means it matters." Derek smiled. "When did you get so smart?" "I've always been smart. You just didn't notice." He laughed. For the first time in what felt like forever, he actually laughed. The hearing room was packed. Legislators, journalists, advocates, families who had traveled from across the state. Derek walked to the witness table with Lily beside him. The committee chairwoman leaned forward. "Mr. Cole, thank you for being here today. Your testimony has been instrumental in moving this legislation forward." Derek cleared his throat. "Thank you, ma'am. I'm not here for credit. I'm here because my daughter shouldn't have eaten off a floor, and neither should any other child. Ever." He spoke for 20 minutes. About the bullying. About the cover-up. About the system that prioritized donors over children. About what it took to break through that system. When he finished, the room was silent. Then the chairwoman spoke. "Mr. Cole, on behalf of this committee and the children of Texas, thank you. Your courage has made a difference." The committee gave him a standing ovation. Lily tugged on his sleeve. "Daddy." "Yes, sweetheart. Can we get ice cream after this?" Derek laughed again. "Yes, baby. We can definitely get ice cream." They walked out of the hearing room together, father and daughter, into a bright Austin afternoon. Behind them, the legislators began their vote. Lily's law passed unanimously. That night, Derek sat alone on the porch of their Texas home. The stars were bright, the air was warm. Somewhere in the distance, a mockingbird sang. He pulled out his phone and looked at the photograph of Sarah. Her smile, her eyes, the way she had looked at him on their wedding day. "We did it," he whispered. "We kept her safe. We changed things." The photograph didn't answer, but Derek didn't need it to. He could feel Sarah with him, in the wind, in the stars, in the quiet certainty that everything he had done was right. He closed his eyes and let the peace wash over him. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The trial, the ongoing investigations, the long work of rebuilding a community. But tonight, Derek Cole allowed himself something he hadn't felt in months. Hope. Real, genuine, unshakable hope. For Lily. For their future. For the promise he had made and kept. He opened his eyes and looked at the stars one more time. "Thank you, Sarah," he whispered, "for everything." And somewhere, somehow, he could have sworn he heard her whisper back, "I love you. Both of you. Always." 1 year later, Derek Cole stood at the entrance of Pinewood Elementary with a stack of picture books tucked under his arm. It was the first Monday of the month. Reading Day. He signed in at the front office, clipped the visitor badge to his leather vest, and walked down the hallway toward the first-grade classroom. The walls were covered with student artwork now. Bright colors, happy faces, messages about kindness and respect. A different school than the one he had walked into 14 months ago. Mrs. Chen, the first-grade teacher, met him at the door with a warm smile. "Mr. Cole, the kids have been asking about you all morning." "Sorry I'm a little late. Traffic on Route 9. "You're never late. You're always exactly when you need to be." Derek stepped into the classroom. 22 faces looked up at him with anticipation. "Mr. Motorcycle Man," a little boy in the front row shouted, "are you going to read the Dragon book today?" Derek laughed and held up the stack. "I brought 3 books. You get to pick which one we start with." He settled into the reading chair as the children gathered around him on the carpet. Their eyes were bright, trusting, innocent. The way children's eyes should be. As he opened the first book, Derek caught sight of something on the wall. A poster with photographs of community volunteers. His own face smiled back at him from the corner. Underneath, in a child's handwriting, "Mr. Cole helps us be brave." He swallowed hard and began to read. After the reading session, Dr. Angela Morrison caught him in the hallway. "Derek, do you have a moment?" "Of course." They walked to her office together. It was different from Hartman's office. No golf trophies, no donor plaques. Just books, student artwork, and a sign that read, "Every child matters here." "I wanted to update you on something," Dr. Morrison said, closing the door. "Brandon Hayes completed his behavioral program last month." Derek felt his shoulders tense. "And he's been accepted to a specialized school in Houston, a fresh start, new environment, ongoing support." How's he doing? Dr. Morrison paused. Better. Not fixed, not healed, but better. He wrote something in his exit interview that I thought you should hear. She pulled out a piece of paper and read aloud. I hurt people because I thought that was what strong meant. My dad taught me that power was taking what you wanted and making people afraid. But I was wrong. Real strength is standing up for people who can't stand up for themselves. I learned that from a man I never met, a man whose daughter I tormented. If I could talk to him, I would tell him I'm sorry. And I would tell him thank you. Because he showed me what real courage looks like. Derek's throat tightened. He didn't know what to say. Dr. Morrison folded the paper. Cycles can be broken, Derek. You broke one. And in doing so, you might have saved 2 children instead of 1. I don't know if I can forgive him. Not yet. Forgiveness isn't required. Understanding is enough for now. Derek nodded slowly. Thank you for telling me. When he left the school and sat in his truck for a long moment thinking about cycles, about pain passed down from father to son, about the choices that break those cycles or perpetuate them. His phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Chapter meeting tonight. We have news. The clubhouse was packed when Derek arrived. Brothers from across Texas had gathered their motorcycles filling the parking lot. Marcus stood at the front of the room, his face unreadable. Brothers, I have an announcement. As of today, the criminal case against Victor Hayes has concluded. The room went silent. He pled guilty to 3 counts of witness intimidation and 1 count of conspiracy to obstruct justice. He's been sentenced to 4 years in federal prison. Cheers erupted. Men who had stood silent at that school board meeting now roared with satisfaction. Marcus raised his hand for quiet. But that's not the only news. The civil lawsuits have also been settled. 15 families will receive compensation, and the Hayes family has agreed to fund an independent child advocacy center in Ridgeview to be operated without any Hayes involvement for the next 20 years. More cheers. Derek sat in the back, absorbing the information. 4 years. Victor Hayes would spend 4 years behind bars. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough for the children he had helped torment through his protection of Brandon. But it was something. It was accountability. It was a message that money and power couldn't buy immunity forever. Marcus caught his eye and walked over. How you feeling, brother? Complicated. Yeah, justice usually is. Derek looked around the room at his brothers. Men who had ridden hundreds of miles to stand with him. Men who had risked their own reputations to fight for a 6-year-old girl they had never met. I couldn't have done this without you. Without all of you. Marcus gripped his shoulder. That's what family does. We show up. We stand together. We don't let the bastards win. What happens now? Now we keep doing what we've always done. We protect people. We stand up for the ones who can't stand up for themselves. And we remember that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't throw a punch. It's tell the truth. Derek nodded. I think Sarah would have liked that. I think Sarah would have been proud as hell of you. That night, Derek went home to find Lily waiting on the porch. She had grown in the past year. Taller, more confident. The haunted look that had shadowed her eyes for so long was gone, replaced by something brighter. Daddy Sophie's mom said she can sleep over on Friday. Derek scooped her up. That's great, sweetheart. And guess what else I made the soccer team? You did. I'm the goalie. Coach Martinez said I'm the best at blocking because I'm not afraid of the ball. Derek laughed. Not afraid of anything, are you? Lily thought about it seriously. I'm still afraid of spiders, and that weird noise the refrigerator makes at night. Fair enough. They went inside together. The house felt different now. Warmer. more alive. Derek had finally unpacked all the boxes from Arizona. Sarah's photographs hung on the walls. Her cookbook sat on the kitchen counter. Her presence was everywhere, not as a ghost, but as a blessing. Lily ran to her room to change out of her school clothes, and Derek stood alone in the kitchen, looking at Sarah's photograph on the refrigerator. "We made it," he whispered. "We really made it." The next morning brought an unexpected visitor. Derek was making breakfast when the doorbell rang. He opened it to find Rosa Martinez standing on the porch, tears streaming down her face. "Rosa, what's wrong?" She threw her arms around him. "They dropped the charges. Miguel's record is completely clear. The school admitted they falsified disciplinary reports to discredit our complaint." Derek hugged her back. "That's wonderful news. It's because of you. Everything that's changed, it's because you wouldn't back down. It's because of all of us. Every family that spoke up, every teacher who testified, every person who refused to stay silent." Rosa pulled back and wiped her eyes. "Miguel asked me to give you something." She handed him a piece of paper. A child's drawing. 2 stick figures, one big and one small, holding hands. Underneath, in careful letters, "Thank you for being brave." Derek's eyes burned. "Tell him I said he's the brave one." "I will. And Derek, thank you, from the bottom of my heart." After Rosa left, Derek sat at the kitchen table, looking at the drawing. Lily wandered in, still in her pajamas. "Who was that?" "Miguel's mom. You remember Miguel, the boy who got bullied before me? That's him. He drew me a picture." Lily looked at it and smiled. "It's nice. He's not very good at drawing, though." Derek laughed. "The art isn't the point, sweetheart." "I know. The point is that he's happy now." "Exactly." Lily climbed into the chair beside him. "Daddy, yeah. Do you think Mommy can see all of this? All the good stuff that's happening?" Derek thought about the question. About faith and loss and the mysterious ways love persists beyond death. "I think she can, baby. I think she's watching over us every single day." "Good, because I want her to know I'm okay now. I want her to know she doesn't have to worry anymore." Derek pulled his daughter into his arms and held her tight. "She knows, sweetheart. She knows." 2 months later, Lily's law went into effect across Texas. Schools were required to implement independent reporting systems. Administrators with conflicts of interest were prohibited from handling bullying complaints. Mandatory training was instituted for all school staff. The changes rippled outward. Other states began considering similar legislation. National advocacy groups cited the Ridgeview case as a model for reform. And Derek Cole, the motorcycle mechanic who had walked into a cafeteria and found his daughter on her knees, became an unlikely spokesman for child protection. He was invited to speak at conferences. He was interviewed by national media. He testified before state legislatures in Oklahoma, Louisiana, and New Mexico. But the appearance that meant the most happened on a warm Saturday in April. The Hellsangels Texas chapter hosted a community event at their clubhouse, a fundraiser for the new Child Advocacy Center in Ridgeview. Families came from across the county. Kids played games while parents talked and laughed. Derek stood by the grill, flipping burgers, watching Lily run through the crowd with Sophie and 3 other friends. Marcus appeared beside him. "Hell of a turnout. Better than I expected. People want to be part of something good. They just need someone to show them the way." Derek watched his daughter laugh as she chased a balloon across the grass. "She's happy," Marcus observed. "Really happy." "Yeah, she is. You did that, brother. You gave her that." Derek shook his head. "I just kept a promise. Everything else happened because people showed up, because they chose to do the right thing. But someone had to go first. Someone had to take the risk. That was you." Derek didn't have an answer for that. so he just kept flipping burgers. Later that afternoon, Lily found him sitting alone on the clubhouse steps. She sat down beside him, her face flushed from running her hair wild from play. "Daddy." "Yeah, sweetheart. I want to tell you something." "I'm listening." Lily took a deep breath. "When everything was bad, when Brandon was being mean, and nobody would help, I used to pray every night. I asked God to send someone to save me. I asked him to make it stop." Derek's heart ached. "I'm so sorry you went through that alone." "But that's the thing, Daddy. I wasn't alone. You came, you found me, you fixed everything. I should have found out sooner. I should have paid more attention." Lily shook her head firmly. "No. You came exactly when you were supposed to. And you didn't just save me. You saved all those other kids too. You changed everything." Derek didn't know what to say. His little girl, 6 years old, explaining grace to him. "I was thinking," Lily continued, "maybe that's what we're supposed to do. Help each other. Stand up for each other. Be brave for each other." "Where did you learn that?" Lily smiled. "From you. And from Mommy. And from all those motorcycle men who came to my school." Derek pulled her close. "You're going to change the world someday, Lily Cole." "Maybe. But today I just want cake." "Is there cake?" Derek laughed through his tears. "Yes, sweetheart. There's cake." A few weeks later, something unexpected happened. Derek received a letter. Not an email, not a text. An actual handwritten letter delivered to his home. He opened it carefully. The handwriting was uneven, the words clearly labored over. "Dear Mr. Cole, my name is Brandon Hayes. I know I don't deserve to write to you. I know what I did to Lily was wrong. I can't take it back. I wish I could. Every day I think about the look on her face when I knocked her tray down. Every day I feel sick about it. I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness. I don't think I deserve that. I'm writing because my therapist said I need to take responsibility, not just to myself, but to the people I hurt. I was taught that being powerful meant making people afraid. I was taught that some people mattered less than others. I believed it because my dad believed it. But I was wrong. We were both wrong. Lily mattered. All those kids mattered. And you showed everyone the truth. I'm trying to be better now. I don't know if I can be, but I'm trying. I'm sorry, Mr. Cole. I'm sorry for everything. Brandon Hayes." Derek read the letter 3 times. Then he sat at the kitchen table and cried. Not tears of anger, not tears of grief. Tears of something he couldn't quite name. Something that felt like the end of a long journey. Lily found him there, the letter spread out on the table. "Daddy, what's wrong?" He showed her the letter. She read it slowly, her lips moving with each word. When she finished, she looked up at him. "He's sorry." "Yeah, he is. Do you believe him?" Derek considered the question. "I think I do." "Me too." Lily was quiet for a moment. "Can I write back to him? You want to write back? I want to tell him something. Is that okay?" Derek nodded slowly. "Yeah, sweetheart. That's okay." Lily got a piece of paper and a pencil. She wrote carefully, her tongue poking out with concentration. When she finished, she showed him the letter. "Dear Brandon, thank you for saying sorry. It was hard when you were mean to me. I cried a lot. But my daddy told me that people can change if they want to. I hope you change. I hope you become kind. Maybe someday you can help someone the way my daddy helped me. That would be good. Lily." Derek's hands shook as he held the letter. "Is it okay?" Lily asked anxiously. "I didn't know what else to say." "It's perfect, sweetheart. It's absolutely perfect." He mailed the letter the next day. He never heard back from Brandon. But somehow that was okay. The cycle had been acknowledged. The possibility of redemption had been offered. What happened next was Brandon's choice. That's all anyone could do. Plant seeds. Hope they grew. On the one-year anniversary of the school board meeting, Derek took Lily to the cemetery in Arizona. They stood before Sarah's grave, the Texas sun warming their backs. "Hi, Mommy," Lily said softly. "I brought you flowers. Daddy said yellow was your favorite." She placed the bouquet carefully on the headstone. "A lot of things have changed since I last talked to you. I have friends now. Real friends. I play soccer. I'm a goalie. I'm pretty good." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "Daddy kept his promise. He protected me. He protected a lot of other kids, too. They made a law with my name on it. Can you believe that, Lily's law? It sounds important." Derek stood silently beside her, letting her have this moment. "I miss you, Mommy, every day. But I'm not sad all the time anymore. Daddy says you're watching over us. I believe him. Sometimes at night when I'm falling asleep, I feel like you're right there, like you're tucking me in." Lily wiped her eyes. "I'm going to make you proud, Mommy. I'm going to be brave like you and brave like Daddy. I'm going to help people. I'm going to stand up for the kids who can't stand up for themselves." She turned to Derek. "Can I have a minute alone with her?" Derek's heart clenched. "Of course, sweetheart." And he walked back toward the truck, giving his daughter privacy to say whatever she needed to say. When she finally joined him, her eyes were red, but her face was peaceful. "Ready to go home?" he asked. "Yeah, I'm ready." They drove in comfortable silence for a while. Then Lily spoke. "Daddy, yeah, thank you. For what, sweetheart? For everything, for not giving up, for keeping your promise, for being my daddy." Derek's vision blurred with tears. "Thank you for being my daughter, Lily, for being brave, for teaching me what really matters." Lily smiled and leaned her head against his shoulder. "We make a pretty good team, don't we? The best team in the world." They drove into the sunset together, father and daughter carrying the love of a woman who had taught them both what it meant to fight for the people you love. Now, before you go, there's something I want to ask you. If this story meant something to you, if it stirred something in your chest, if it reminded you of your own past, or made you think differently about what it means to stand up, I want to hear from you. Tell me who your protector was, who stepped between you and the hurt when you needed it most. And if no one did, if you had to weather the storm alone, tell me what you wish someone had done. Tell me what would have made you feel safe. And if you believe children like Lily deserve protection, if you believe bullies and the adults who enable them should never win, then I'm inviting you to stay. Subscribe, comment, share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Because I'm going to keep telling stories like this. Stories about ordinary people choosing courage when silence would have been easier. Stories about justice born not from fists, but from truth and community. Stories about what happens when the overlooked are finally seen. One like, one comment, one share. That's you saying, "I stand with Lily. I stand against cruelty. I stand for the children who can't stand for themselves." And in the end, that's what this story was really about. Not motorcycles, not courtrooms, not viral headlines. It was about a father who made a promise to his dying wife and kept it. It was about a little girl who learned that her voice mattered. It was about a community that chose to stand together when it would have been easier to look away. It was about the simple, powerful truth that love is stronger than fear, that truth is stronger than money, and that ordinary people doing the right thing can change the world. Derek Cole wasn't a hero. He was just a father who refused to let his daughter suffer in silence. Lily Cole wasn't special. She was just a child who deserved to feel safe. But together they proved something that matters. They proved that one voice raised in truth can break through any wall of silence. They proved that standing up for what's right is never wasted, even when it's hard. And they proved that the promise we make to protect our children is sacred. Sacred enough to fight for. Sacred enough to sacrifice for. Sacred enough to change the world for. That's the legacy of Derek and Lily Cole. That's the legacy of every parent who refuses to look away. And that's the legacy waiting for anyone brave enough to stand up and say, "Not my child, not any child, never again."